Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Coach, your thoughts on finally earning the first victory at GEODIS Park?
Yeah, absolutely delighted, as you could well imagine. You know, the party atmosphere of last week, unfortunately we couldn't make it a fairy tale, as I said, and tonight's game had a little bit more pressure attached to it, I felt. You know, you get those first two home games under your belt. You want to make sure that you're moving in the right direction. I think we saw tonight some reinforcements of some of the quality from last week, especially in the early stages. A lot of pressure. Some of the stats have stood up very, very well for us today. The fact that, you know, Salt Lake didn't have a shot in the first period was, you know, testimony to the way that the guys went about their business. And all in all, against a very well-drilled side and a difficult team to play against, the first goal was always going to be very, very important. It felt like it was going to go our way, but you've still got to make sure that that happens. And, you know, the guys I think will feel a tremendous amount of confidence and belief after the sort of performance and result that we've seen today.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open the floor for questions for those on the line or on the Zoom call. Please alert me through it that you have a question for Coach. We'll begin with Ben Wright.
Yeah, Gary, you mentioned just how defensively you're able to shut them down. As it went on and you guys couldn't find a breakthrough, did you start to get a little bit nervous that one wouldn't come? And then once Dave did find the back of the net, just how much of a relief was that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it would, you know, I'd be inhuman if I didn't feel as though, you know, maybe the opportunity had come and gone. There was a lot of pressure last week. We had some fantastic chances in the first period last week, and they dried up in the second half. You know, I certainly felt as though there was more to be had out of this game. And I think in some ways the experiences of being in the facility, on the field, you know, harnessing the crowd, I think the guys, you know, certainly played with a lot more energy and vigour in that second period, when maybe emotionally last week they were a little bit drained. But to get the first goal was, I think, a release for all the players. I'm sure there was a lot of anxiety that they, you know, they wanted to take the lead and had built a lot of pressure. I thought the way they went about their business in the first half, especially, not just with some of the quality in possession, but some of the repressing. You know, we maintained a very strong presence in their half of the field, whether that was with the ball or regaining the ball quickly in their half. And that, I think in the end, you know, told on them in terms of, you know, the physical aspect. And, you know, the more times you put the ball into difficult areas that defenders have got to be on their toes, the more chance you got of obviously making that count. But I did honestly think, even from the set piece, you know, Walker looked like he had the very best opportunity to make it count. Wasn't to be, and I thought it was going to be one of those, have we not squeezed it over the line? But Dave was on the money.
Thank you, Coach. Great.
Yeah, just wanted to ask you about Randall. He went down at the end of the first half, and it seemed like he wasn't really planning on trying to come back in. You know, what's his status, and what's the possibility of him even being involved for Wednesday?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a, you know, Woods challenge. By the way, wasn't the first one. Was a, you know, a little bit naughty. Randall took a whack on the ankle. The medical staff looked at taping it up and giving him the best opportunity to go back into the second period. In the end, it was a case of him feeling a tad too uncomfortable to go back out there. It felt better, given his mental position, to make a change. We'll know more in the next 24, 48 hours as to what sort of damage has been done. At the moment, I've got to say, it doesn't seem anything too serious, but, you know, we'll find out a little bit more.
Thank you, Claudio.
Gary, I don't think Nashville ever showed that there was a problem in terms of controlling the game, controlling the ball and the time. But what was different? Like in the second half, you look at the team, it looks like the transition for somehow got better. And then Nashville got to get to 3/4 of the field promptly and with better chances, even though there were some opportunities in the second half. Is that your take, or how did that change?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had one change. I don't believe that made a huge difference in the way that the game unfolded. What you got to take into consideration, I do believe, is the fatigue that an away team, you know, the energy that they expel, and then the fatigue that sets in for that group. In the first period, they were able to cover those cracks, and they were able to, you know, recover into areas that makes our life a little bit more difficult. As the game moves on, it becomes more and more difficult. We felt that enough in the first 8 games. I think the other thing that you have to understand and appreciate is that the guys are getting used to the dynamic of the field. You know, maybe some of those areas that we can start to take advantage of. You know, there was a discussion at the break of 1 or 2 things that might make a little bit of a difference. And I think in the main, the confidence as well with the group. You know, in the first period, there was a more pragmatic approach to it. They sat a little bit deeper. It didn't always come and press too high. And I think the guys felt as though there was a little bit more to be had. And if you combine all of those little factors, then you start to see little pockets open up, and then it's a case of taking advantage of it. It's a case of seeing it, having the right quality and detail to connect, or to you know, to really break beyond what had otherwise been a very, very difficult group to break down. And we saw that a little bit more in the second period, I felt.
We are going to go to the ones on the line. Tim Sullivan.
Gary, a very different type of game played out compared to last time you played these guys. Obviously, a big part of that is where the game was, but what allowed you guys to completely shut them down in a way that you were unable to when you guys were in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, honestly, I felt as though we deserved more in Salt Lake. We actually played very well and probably created more clear-cut chances than we saw tonight. Away from home, the expectation, certainly as we went into the game, was that they may well be more difficult to try and penetrate. Maybe that front line to start to press, and the line of confrontation might be a tad lower. And in all fairness, I thought they defended very, very well in the first half, and Pablo's done a terrific job. They're very, very well organised, and it was always going to be difficult to find that first goal. The fact that it came from a set piece and a scramble, I think, again, tells you that you know, there weren't an awful lot of clear-cut moments, and it was only then that they had to, you know, throw a little bit more caution to the wind and, you know, try to get themselves back into the game, and it gave us a little bit more of an opportunity to take advantage of that. But I think all in all, the performances against these guys have been 2 very good performances. You know, the opportunities that we've created have been very decent. And in all honesty, of course, I'm delighted that we've won the game, and we've got that first win on the board. But it was also very, very important to try and close the gap on a group, a team, you know, in the Western Conference who were sitting in the playoff positions, and we now close that up, and I think we've got a game in hand on these, albeit in the early stages of the season. But I think in terms of a boost for morale for the group, we start to see some of the benefits of earning 11 points on the road. You know, you don't get the victory tonight, and all of a sudden you start thinking, well, okay, was it worthwhile? did we do enough? Are we going to get it done? But we've had 2 good performances here now, opening up a brand new stadium, and that can only bode well for the future.
Thank you, Coach. We have time for 2 more questions, Frank.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe take a look at, you talked a little bit about the defensive performance, particularly in the first 45. Would you say that that was maybe the benchmark of what you want GEODIS to be for you guys?
I think something we've not done an awful lot of before. We've worked over the course of 2.5 years now on the structure of the group, worked very hard to try and present a better shape that allows us to control the game more. We found that counter-attacking and maybe some of the more vertical attacking moments were our best ones at Titans. But I think all of the fellas, we had a chat after the weekend's game, and all of the fellas felt that the atmosphere was absolutely electric last week. And, the importance of harnessing that, building pressure. When you've got a really good crowd, there's a sense of expectation, and they get behind the group, and corners and set pieces and efforts at goal and repressing, and and this fan base, I do think over a period of time has become a lot more understanding of the game in general, and I think they appreciate when they see Walker, winning aerial challenge after aerial challenge, and someone like Sean or Dax, winning really important challenges in midfield. That's just as important to the group as, a good bit of flank play and a cross into the box. So I think slowly but surely the players and the fans in our new home now, and it is early days, hopefully finding a really strong foundation. And we certainly know that there are aspects of our game that we can continue to improve and work on and develop, and that can again only be good for results. It doesn't stop us doing what we did before. There's some strong elements of our game that I would only want to keep reinforcing, but there are certainly areas we can improve, and we'll work very hard to try and do that. Sorry, did I bore everyone? I felt like I went on a little bit too long there and the lights went out. Was that the end of it?
One more question for that, and then we're done.
Yeah, Gary, you've talked a good bit about Lukaku, just going back to preseason and even this last week. Just what do you make of his performance and ultimately picking up the assist?
Yeah, I think Luke's been really, really unfortunate. He's not the only one. There's some guys in the background that deserve more plaudits and time than they're getting. Luke had his opportunity today in a very small window again, and he's created and assisted on a hugely important goal. I think it again underlines the ability that the player has, what he's capable of achieving for this team, and maybe what the future holds for him. He's an incredibly professional individual, works tirelessly at his game, and with few minutes he's making a lot of impact, which it's not easy to do, as I'm sure everyone's aware of, off the line, coming into the game, getting to the pace of it. So delighted for him, really, really pleased that he could have the sort of impact he has, and that certainly puts him in a much stronger position in my mind when those decisions are being made about the starting lineup. And we've got a tough 2-3 weeks, and we're going to need all hands to the pump.